So, what made a young 21-year-old end up dying and being brutally murdered? When she was loved by her family, she had the world in front of her, but yet she was found brutally murdered in a canal. I'll give you some more answers on murder, he wrote. Welcome back to Murder, he wrote. My name is Matthew. So today I want to speak about unsolved murders to help the victims find justice and also to be laid to rest and their souls to be at peace. But of course, most of all, is help their families find the truth and find some sense of understanding and peace within themselves in order so they can move on. So this case is quite old. It's about 20 years old, but it struck me very deeply. I wanted to go into this with as much detail as I can. So today I want to speak about Vicky Glass. Vicky Glass went missing when she was only 21. She was in Middlesbrough, and this happened around the 2000s. Her body was found in North Yorkshire, the North Yorkshire moors in Danby. She had short hair, and her family loved her. They just want answers what happened to their beautiful little girl. So what I'm going to do is just paint roughly what Vicky was about, who she was, and then let's go a bit more in depth about how that she was found brutally murdered in the Yorkshire moors. About Vicky, who was she? Where was she born? Now, Vicky was born in Stockton upon Tees in Cleveland on the 21st of September 1979. Deborah and Anthony Glass was her mother and father. Loving family, brought up very well. All of her family loved her. They said she was a beautiful spirit and a beautiful energy. She had a younger sister called Claire, who was 1 year younger than her. When she was only 6 years old, her mother, Deborah, remarried a guy called Colin Goodall, and Vicky lived with them throughout their childhood. She had a younger sister called Cheryl, and also a younger brother called Thomas. She went on to Blakeston Secondary School, which is in Stockton upon Tees. She was a keen sportsperson, and she pretty was good at running, so she did love her sports. And you can see by her post or by her picture that I just put up that she was very athletic. She worked throughout her education and achieved 5 GCSEs. So if anyone doesn't know what GCSEs are, actually listed around now. She did pretty well at school, and she really loved school. Before securing a job in a sweet and savoury factory in Teesside, between the ages of 13 to 18, Vicky was her main hobby was a real passionate about playing in a band. So she was obviously quite musical. She loved being a part of the band and traveling around with them. So she was quite musical, athletic, and a beautiful energy, clearly, as you can see. She also was a proud performer and entertained the crowds, and a lot of people still remember her. Her younger brother said that Vicky was very quiet and very timid, but yet she could be really bubbly and energetic around her family. And that's something that her family always remembered her for. It turns out that she was also a Michael Jackson fan, a big Michael Jackson fan. She would listen to his music, dance around and sing Michael Jackson songs the family fondly remembers. However, she was also into animals. She rescued a cat called Scotty, where she tamed it. It was probably a feral cat, so she tamed it, looked after it, and obviously rescued it. And this cat became a part of the family. It was said that it became her pet. She loved cats. That was one of her big things. And he said as she got older, she got more, though she was timid when she was younger and she was quite quiet, but she was quite bubbly around her family. So as she got older, she grew with confidence, and I believe obviously she was into Michael Jackson and singing his songs. So this obviously helped boost her confidence. And as she grew, she loved socializing. So she'd be out with friends and family, and her family remember her being very sociable. And as I said, as she grew up and she got older, it's then when she became very independent and very bubbly, and everybody remember as this shining energy that would just light up the room. Let's talk about the investigation. What happened during the investigation? Let me just start by just saying that she was born in the 21st of September, as I said earlier, in 1979, but it's when she was 18, she disappeared. Nobody could track her down, could find where she was. It later found out that she was addicted to heroin. And this was believed worsened as she got older. And this probably answered why she probably went missing and why she probably went to get more of a fix. I'm just speculating. But for the fact is that her disappearance probably was out of character. As I said, she was a bubbly, confident person. So what made a trigger for her to be addicted to heroin? Let's look at Vicky and her vulnerability. Vicky, and why did she, fall into heroin? Why did she get addicted to heroin? In order to sustain this, as I said, Vicky turned to sex work. Vicky was a frequent visitor at a place called Cannon Park, the area of in Middlesbrough. It was a particular place HGV drivers would visit. The lorry drivers would be seen there. It's like a park known to be like overnight stops for these truckers that began from one part of the UK to the other, or probably international. It was around 1999, Vicky was both homeless and suffering from a chest infection. At this stage, she got to know a friend of hers, said she was homeless at the time, as I mentioned. So her friend took her in, come and live with us and another guy that knew her friend. Vicky went to a place called Pitch Close in Middlesbrough, where she met a guy there, as I mentioned earlier, who was a male who lived at that location. And it turned out this guy, who was at number 16, Pitch Close in Middlesbrough, was a permanent resident there. The male provided her with reassurance and assistance to deal with doctor's appointments and also helped to improve her life. So she seemed like she was getting on the mend. I couldn't find the name of her friend or the name of this guy who was where she went to this place called in number 16, Pitch Close. But what I want to do is go a bit more deeper into her last movements before she was brutally murdered. Addicted to heroin, and older in them days in the 1990s. So we're talking about 1990s, and she was around in that time. So in order to sustain her condition or her addiction, should say, she, as I said, she turned to sex when she turned to be a sex worker in Middlesbrough. Thursday, the 21st, 2000, only a few days before she celebrated her 21st birthday. That evening, she was known to be conducted or to meet someone she would meet regularly. It was a casual person she would meet for sex as she was a sex worker. So she was known to go to a place called Cannon Park and Gresham area in Middlesbrough. This is where she would go, I assume, to meet people, because this is where she would have funded her sex, her addiction to heroin, and that's where it was believed she conducted her sex work. On Saturday, the 23rd of September 2000, Vicky and a friend left Pitch Close. This was around midday, it was believed. She went and she changed her clothes. This is where then she went on to conduct her business as a sex worker. She often, sometimes would go around about midnight and met a client in Borough Road in Middlesbrough. But Vicky and Ismail went to 104 Prince Road in Middlesbrough. The area was known for both for drug dealers and also for sex workers. Now, I couldn't find why Vicky fell into to become an addict to heroin, but something seemed to have happened when she disappeared when she was only 18, and then she clearly was going through a bit of turmoil, a bit of issues at that time. But let's go back to the story. Let's get a bit more deeper into what happened with Vicky. Let's look at what was going on. So at the moment, she's at 104 Prince Road in Middlesbrough. As I said, this address is known for drugs and also for sex workers. After a period of time, it's believed that the male left the address and flagged down a cab. So both of them left, not just the guy, both of them left, flagged down a cab on Union Street. I went back to the male's home in Norton, Stockton. It is known that Vicky only stayed at the house for a short time and called a cab to take her back to Middlesbrough. So she obviously went back to this guy's place, but then decided to leave after a short time to head back home again. I want to be quite clear, so bear with me with this. Vicky called a cab from a firm called Cleveland Cabs. So there was a taxi firm. Shortly after 4 a.m. on Sunday the 24th of September 2000, Vicky left the client's house at Norton and got into a white Vauxhall Vectra, and this is a picture of the vehicle or a vehicle like it. The vehicle registration was it was R790LFV. After 4:20 a.m., Vicky's taxi arrived at Union Street in Middlesbrough at the junction of Union Street and Eastwood Square. Just at the rear of the pub was called the Shipmate. Now, they dropped her off there, and the taxi driver then headed back to Middlesbrough, back to the taxi firm where obviously he was working. So what happened next with Vicky? What did Vicky do? Now, we can see Vicky had a good upbringing. So her mum remarried again, had more siblings. Then she fell on hard times when she was 18. I'm just recapping here for you. At 18, she went missing and she got addicted to heroin. She comes back to Middlesbrough, and then she obviously has issues trying to deal with her addiction. So the only way she can keep fueling and keep her addiction going is by getting into the sex trade. And this is where she met different people. And then she had obviously chest infection. She ended up being homeless. She met various people. And then remember, she also went to a HGV location where people or drivers of long distance truck drivers would meet. So she was frequently known to go to these places. So that's where we are so far. So let's find out what happened next with Vicky. I mentioned the guy she lived with in that close. He was concerned because it was been a while he hasn't heard from Vicky, and so he waited a bit. So then what he done, he started talking to various friends that the circle she would move in. No one's heard from her. No one's seen her. Now Vicky obviously was well known. People knew her. He went to the local haunt she would have been at. Nobody seen her. Decided to contact her family. Nobody saw her. He was concerned, so he decided to contact the Cleveland police and made a missing investigation report. The investigation was launched in order to find Vicky, because again, remember, she was only 21, and again, it was out of nature for her to just disappear. I know she disappeared when she was 18, but she returned again, but she'd always return back to her family or to her friends, or always keep in touch. So people were clearly concerned. So what happened next? At 6 a.m. on Friday, the 3rd of November 2000, Vicky's body was found, discovered by a dog walker in Danby, a village in North Yorkshire. A murder investigation was launched. During the investigation, 4 people were arrested for a murder. With additional people interviewed, no one has been charged with a murder to date. So what happened to her? Do anybody remember that time in the 2000s or the 1999? Do you remember the case? I'm going to leave the link here. If you know anything, let's help find or shed some light on this young lady's last movements or what happened to her. And maybe let's see if we can find the murderer who killed her, and let's put her to rest and help her family get some, her family and friends get some peace. You can call these numbers, which I'm going to put up now. It's Cleveland Police, which is 01642 300 1773. That's 01642 301 773. That's Cleveland Police. Or the Crime Stoppers, which is a useful number, again anonymous, 0800 555 111. That's Crime Stoppers, 0800 555 111. Now, these things don't always happen. Be safe, be vigilant, and if you don't feel quite safe and you feel that you maybe experience or maybe feeling vulnerable when you're out, find somewhere secure, going to a police station, going to a shop, call the police. Don't try and risk it. And please do not, I say so many times, take shortcut throughs like in nighttime, or when it's getting dusk. It's not worth it, And if you're going out, go out, enjoy yourself, but be safe. Get a registered cab. Yeah, get a registered cab. There's so many of them out there now. But be safe. My name's Matthew, and this is Murder, He Wrote.